states were soccer matches. So that's how big that sport is. But anyway, folks, I got excited last night because after my little motivational speech yesterday morning, and then the Falcons going out and doing what they did last night. Look, I know they're not going to be in the playoffs, but you know what? Next season is a different season. It's a new season, and let's see what happens. Maybe they turned a new leaf last night. I don't know. But anyway, all right, folks, listen, I have got a lot to get to today. I have a Tim Waltz, Tampon Tim, as some people refer to him to. I have an update. So apparently, Waltz has finally decided or agreed, okay, we need some investigation. So he's going to allocate about $8 billion, and he's going to give it directly to the Somalians, and he's going to have the Somalians investigate themselves. Now, I am, of course, joking, ladies and gentlemen, but you know I'm probably not very off on what that man is thinking. This man would probably do something like this. Waltz would look at you and look at the cameras because what is this guy doing now? This guy, everybody now knows that they're this unbelievable fraud. And let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, if we did, this is what I talk about when I tell you the difference between today's Democrats and yesterday's Democrats. Today's Democrats are not JFK Democrats. And I want you to look at blue states. You can do this on your own. I'll bet you AI, as left-leaning as it is, folks, listen, when you're messing with AI, you got to understand AI is only as good. What's coming out is as good as what's going in. So if the guys at Google are still left-wing moonbats, your AI is going to try its hardest to skew things to the left. So I don't know about all AI. I honestly, I don't use it. It's just not my thing. I take that back every now and then. Yeah, it's fun to use. It's fun to ask it questions. But just understand when you ask it historical questions, you're only getting out what somebody put in. AI is not just something that poofed out of nowhere and suddenly knows all the history. AI, and as a matter of fact, if you have AI write a paper for you, or you have AI write a song for you, it's going to be a derivative of some of the information that's in AI. Somebody had to put information in, so you're not going to get originality. So I want you to understand that, and maybe that'll change one day. I don't know. Maybe when they turn into Terminators. I don't know, but this Tim Waltz guy, he's out there. Everybody knows now. Everybody knows that this was unbelievable fraud. But what I was thinking is, I bet you could do some just basic research, and you compare blue states to the red states. You compare Democrat-run states to Republican-run states, and you look at the fraud that you find in Democrat. In fact, in a Democrat-run state, let's say California. I don't even know if this is really out there yet, but there are investigations within California. I mean, Gavin Newsom's own auditor is starting to call out, hey, we've got a problem here. They're starting to signal. Now, this tells me something. When Gavin Newsom's own auditor in California as left-wing, folks, there's no conservatism in California. There's not that runs anything, not that has any power. That's a Democrat, and it's even going to become more Democrat. And when I see an auditor from a Democrat state like that who's starting to wave a red flag, that tells me that there's probably some news that's going to break, and they're trying to get ahead of it. But this is, again, it's a Democrat-run state that's got fraud, and this fraud, mark my words, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. You heard it from Victor. There's going to be something that comes out at some point, and I'll bet you in the next few weeks, the next months, of some massive fraud that's going on in California. Look at that billion, I don't even know how many billions of dollars that they wasted on a train that hasn't even been built. I don't even know if a foot of track has been laid. But I can tell you they probably lost a lot of money already. Where's that money? So, I mean, you follow these money pits. You follow these little programs. You follow the special programs. You follow welfare programs, and you're going to find a Democrat, and you're going to find some fraud. I mean, I hate to say it that way, folks. And is there fraud in a red state? Maybe. I don't know. But you're not seeing. Look at Chicago. How many governors of Chicago, or not well, maybe governors, I don't know. How many governors have been put in jail from Illinois? I mean, how corrupt is Chicago? How corrupt is California? How corrupt is New York? Folks, I think Mondami, this character, this socialist that was elected to be mayor of New York, who's going to be inaugurated, I don't know, in a couple of weeks. He's going to look at he's not going to do this, of course, but what he ought to do is just look at the camera and go, hey, Waltz, hold my beer. I'll show you some fraud. Because New York City is about to, you want to talk about money being lost, wasted, and fraud. You just wait and see what Mondami does. You wait till socialism really takes hold in New York City under Mondami. You're going to, so Again, blue states. I mean, folks, just look. I can run through them off the top of my head. Look at New York City. Look at New Orleans. Now I know Louisiana is not a Democrat blue state, but the cities. Let's look at Democrat-run cities, or let's look at cities that we all know have problems. Detroit, New Orleans, City of Atlanta. San Francisco, L.A., New York City, Baltimore. All of these cities, they all have similar problems. Chicago, they all have similar problems. They're all in debt. They're all welfare crazy. They all have unbelievable, restrictive, ridiculous gun laws. So they stample on your constitutional rights. And all of these states have some type of crime problem. All of these, or cities, I should say cities, all of them, I believe all of them consider themselves sanctuary cities for illegals, which is just, we've seen after Biden 4 years, is just a crime pit. All of those cities are run by Democrats. There's no Republican in sight in Detroit or Baltimore or San Francisco. There's no Republican that can... I mean, you might have Republicans that can raise their hand and go, hey, I got an idea over here, but all the Democrats that are in charge are just going to laugh at them. Even in the city of Atlanta. And the problem with the city of Atlanta, since we're here in Atlanta with right here with Xtra 106.3, you look at the city of Atlanta and it's not just the city of Atlanta anymore. This is the sad part. This is what scares me about Georgia, and this is why our governorship, the governor's election is going to be so important. You've got the city of Atlanta that has it's just expanding. So you've got downtown, midtown, that crime and that Democrat-run mess has now boiled over into Buckhead. And I know there may be some of you out there that might not like what I'm saying. You might get uncomfortable. You know what? If you don't like what I'm saying, then change it. Change it. Stop voting for the same party. If the same party has messed your city, if you are sitting around in South DeKalb right now listening to me, if you're sitting in downtown Atlanta and you're listening to me and you're still complaining about crime, you're still complaining about not having nice restaurants, you're complaining about not being able to walk into a Target to pull something off the shelf because somebody's got to come get it out from under lock and key. If you are complaining about those things and you've been complaining about them for years, folks, all of that has been run by Democrats for years. The city of Atlanta has been run by Democrats for years. Baltimore, Detroit, New Orleans, San Francisco, Chicago, nothing but Democrats for decades. No Republicans, just Democrats for decades. And you people keep complaining about the same thing, and yet you keep voting for that same party. So how on earth could you ever think you're going to get a change? How on earth could you ever think you're going to get a change if you just keep putting the same people? And this is why I said yesterday, my fellow minority voter, you have the most power. Because if my fellow compatriots, because I know a lot of you guys, you love your country. My fellow minorities, whether you're black voters, brown voters, whatever, if you're a minority voter and you just stand up and you say, you know what? I may not go run off and jump in the lap of a Republican, but I'm not going to allow these Democrats to continue to abuse me and use me. So I'm going to throw them out. Maybe you have to hold your nose and vote for a Republican, but I'm telling you, if you want something to change, you got to stop sending the same party. And this goes for all the cities that I mentioned. Now, I didn't intend to go down that rabbit hole, but listen, let me get back to Waltz, because it would be just like Waltz to come out and say, I'm going to give billions of dollars to some Somalian refugee and let them investigate themselves, because this is how bad this is. There's about 60 people, I think, that have already been arrested for about this fraud in Minnesota, and I don't look. I know I'm gonna say this, and then I know it's crazy to say, but because I know this guy doesn't have character, he's proved this. But if he could find an ounce of character, he should resign. Because there's no way on God's green earth that Waltz didn't know about all of this fraud, folks. We're not just talking we're talking millions, maybe even beyond. I mean, we're talking a lot of taxpayer money that Waltz oversees. And this fraud was going on. Now there are whistleblowers coming out saying that they told him, or at least they tried to alert, hey, there's something strange going on, and he did nothing. And he did not. And the reason that they did nothing is because they're so hooked on DEI. They're so hooked on this ridiculous equity business, that they're so hooked on race baiting, that they look and go, well, we allowed all this fraud to get these votes from the Somalian group. I mean, look, you can go vote in Minnesota. You don't have to prove who you are. You don't have to show an ID. All you've got to do, I believe, and again, I'm not sure about this, but I'm pretty sure that you can walk into the polls in Minnesota and with somebody with you and go, hey, they'll verify who I am, and you can vote. So what is Tim Walz and the Democrats? What have they been doing? They've been buying the Somalian vote. They bring in all these refugees, and then they buy their votes by allowing them to run rampant with fraud. But again, folks, now, most of you who know me, I am the Mexican not afraid to be American. I am the Mexicano, and I'm not afraid to be Americano. And I love my background. I love what my dad was able to achieve here, and what my uncle was able to achieve in this country. But let me tell you, my dad did it the right way. He had to wait in line. My uncle had to wait in line. They had to wait in line in Mexico to get their visas, their student visas, to come over, and then their work visas. They had to do it the right way and make sure everything was in order so that they could come and enjoy and assimilate and become or get on that road to become an American. See, when my dad and uncle came here, they weren't just wanting to be educated and see the United States and learn English. They wanted to become America. They wanted to be America. That doesn't mean they forgot their heritage. Trust me, my dad and my uncle never let us forget our heritage. Trust me about that. But they wanted to not only achieve their dream, their American dream, they wanted to achieve the assimilation. And that's what happens when you do things the right way. That's when you stay within the bounds of the law. But when you do what Biden did and what Cackling Harris did, and you open the border, and again, you're listening to a guy who has a lot of compassion for people in other countries that are suffering because A, they're under socialist governments, and B, poverty is rampant. And again, if you haven't left this country, you haven't seen poverty. So I have compassion. These are my people, as my dad would say. These are your people. So I have compassion. But this country here, the United States, this is our country. We're Americans first. My dad would tell you he's an American first because he has become. He worked so hard for so many years of his life to assimilate and be an American. You can't. If we don't preserve America, if we don't preserve the United States, if we don't preserve our culture, and yes, the United States has a culture. If we don't preserve this culture, then we aren't going to have an American dream for the people coming behind us, for our kids and our grandkids, and even the legal immigrants that want to come be Americans. There won't be a United States if we don't preserve it. And so when Biden and Kamala opened up what they opened up, and they allowed these bad, and yes, they were bad hombres, as Trump put it, you get what you get in Minnesota. You get, again, here's what I'll say. Then I heard this from I'm going to give credit to another talk show host I heard this from. You can't bring the third world here and not expect here to become the third world.
Support the advertisers and partners that share your values. Give our Xtra advertisers the first shot to earn your business. They will deliver for you every time and support the Xtra community like no one else. Connect with all of our partners online at extra1063.com.
Bullet points.
I'm Eben Brown. The new year is coming, and so are some new rules and laws about firearms, especially in states where gun control is on the agenda. Illinois' new law, coming on the books on January 1st, is one that could seriously impact families. The Illinois Safe Gun Storage Act requires firearms in the home be locked up when minors, even older teens, are present in the home, unless the owner of the firearm is carrying it on their person, again within their home. While its supporters, like Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who signed it, say it will increase safety for children, the law's detractors say it leaves open the possibility that a minor or even an at-risk adult who enters the home could make the gun-possessing homeowner non-compliant without even knowing. And violations of this Illinois law could cost a gun owner $10,000 in fines. And those are your bullet points. I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
I'm Ashley Dvorkin with a Fox Celebrity Profile with country singer-songwriter Christian Bush, who I caught up with at the CMA Awards, known as country music's biggest night. I asked him to share one of the biggest nights for him, a first milestone in his country music career.
My mother passed away before I ever even started Sugarland. My father, we were estranged for a long time, and I invited him finally to come to the CMAs, and we were doing an acceptance speech, and I thanked my dad, and he literally looked like he took a lap.
Christian has a lot coming up next, from performances to helping more artists make their big introductions.
We just did a Sugarland tour about this time last year. We had 3 or 4 months with Little Big Town. I know we're going to work again. I just finished the new Megan Maroney record. A new artist I'm working with, Peyton Sullivan. She's from Hawaii and Nashville. And I just worked with Kay Michelle, who's from Atlanta, who's an urban R&B hip-hop artist. They've just put out a country record. Anyway, all of this stuff is happening.
Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A young girl from Texas who saved her brother from choking during a social media challenge makes today's Dean's List. Leah James was participating in the viral Warhead Candy Challenge with her 7-year-old brother Logan. The scary moment was caught on camera when they were both jumping on a trampoline, seeing who could keep the sour candy in their mouth the longest. All of a sudden, Logan began holding his throat and struggling to breathe. Leah asked if he was okay and gave him a couple of pats on the back, and then realized he was choking. 10-year-old Leah remembered the Heimlich maneuver, something their mom had taught her, and now she was going to use it. Leah calmly wrapped her arms around her brother and performed the abdominal thrusts perfectly. Her brother Logan was able to get the candy out of his throat and was able to take a breath. The police department praised Leah for her quick thinking and called her actions both brave and life-saving. Janice Dean, Fox News.
Fox on Film.
If there's something you can do, then you must do it.
James Cameron's sci-fi threequel Avatar: Fire and Ash remained comfortably atop the domestic box office over the Christmas stretch. Avatar 3 added a solid $64 million over the traditional weekend and $88 million since Christmas. Meantime, a trio of new holiday releases: A24's sports dramedy Marty Supreme, the Focus Features musical tearjerker Song Sung Blue, and Sony's action comedy Anaconda helped keep multiplexes bustling. But they were not enough to fend off the Disney animated sequel Zootopia 2, which returned to the number 2 spot in its 5th weekend of release. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
It's Tuesday, December 30th. Georgia has put on hold the scheduled execution of Stacey Humphreys, convicted in the 2003 murders of 2 Cobb County real estate agents. The state's execution warrant has expired, and his clemency petition is under scrutiny over alleged conflicts of interest on the paroles board. Humphreys was sentenced to death in 2007 for killing Cindy Williams and Lori Brown, but his execution cannot proceed until the clemency process is resolved and a new warrant is issued. Buddhist monks on a 2,300-mile walk for peace from Texas to Washington, D.C. drew massive crowds in Georgia, with thousands gathering in Fayetteville and Morrow to greet them. The 19 monks, accompanied by a rescue dog, have been walking across the southeast since October, sleeping outdoors and sharing teachings in communities along the way. And the Carter Center in Atlanta is marking the 1-year anniversary of former President Jimmy Carter's death by celebrating his human rights, peace, and health work around the world. Despite losing about 11% of its 2025 federal funding, the center has maintained programs that provide roughly $160 million in peace and health support to millions around the world. Today's weather cold and windy with a high of 40 degrees. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
Apparently, neither does Waltz. That guy doesn't care about his reputation. All right, folks, it's Morning Extra, the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. I am not Tug, nor am I Los, but I'm filling in for him. I am Victor Armendariz. So happy to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Victor Armendariz. I have a show. It's called The Victor Armendariz Show. You can find me all over the place. Listen, I would love it if you guys would hook up with me on social media. And I know that's probably not the proper way to say that, but I don't like social media. I'll be honest with you. I don't like it, but being in this business, you kind of have to have it. So please find me, Victor Armendariz. Just spell it correctly. Armendariz. And you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, on YouTube. Find me all over the place. You can also hear all of my shows again, including right here, Extra 106.3. You can hear this show. You can watch it on YouTube, on the Extra 106.3 YouTube page. You can... in fact, it's going live right now. In fact, you guys are probably, if you are on and looking at the webcams, you may not notice because for me, standing up sometimes looks like I'm sitting down because I'm just not that tall. But I am having to stand up because of my leg. Some of you know already that I really messed up my left leg playing soccer, so I can't bend it. So it's hard for me to sit. So I do have to stand up a lot. But yeah, folks, check it out and please find me. Also, Spotify. You can find me on Spotify. Everything I do, you'll find on Spotify, including the shows here at Extra 106.3. So lots of ways for you to listen. Lots of ways for you to tell your friend, hey, have you heard the Mexican not afraid to be American? Check me out, please. I would appreciate it. And thank you guys so much. The phone number, because I promised you guys yesterday, because I didn't take one phone call yesterday. I promised you guys I would do it today. So 404-741-1230. 404-741-1230. If you want to call in and listen, you can ask me anything, folks. Listen, this is kind of a holiday week. I mean, the end of the year is here. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve. So if you want to call in today, you can ask me anything about 2025. You can ask me. Normally, I don't make bold predictions, but if you want me to, you can call in. I'll make predictions for next year for 2026. You just let me know. So 404-741-1230. I will try to get priority to any calls today, so you guys feel free to call. So about this whole Waltz thing, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I want to believe that he's got a little bit of character, but as you guys heard, if you were listening to the Kimmer yesterday afternoon, the Kimmer has it right. I mean, this guy Waltz. Listen, folks. The place in my heart for our military veterans and for our active military, and the way I feel about the brotherhood of the military in this country. There's nothing like it, and I love it. So you're never going to hear me besmirch, is that right? To a member of our military, but the Kimmer is right when he talks about Waltz, because what is bad is when you take the brotherhood of the military and then you abuse it and then you lie about it, like Waltz apparently did, because Kimmer put it so eloquently yesterday. I would not want to see the Kimmer and Tim Waltz in the same room. I wouldn't want. Maybe I want to see it. Maybe I want to see that. But because I know what Kimmer can do, because I know the story of the Kimmer when he took care of the dude that spit on him, and oh my goodness, what a story that. I love it every time Kimmer tells that story. Anyway, but Kimmer's right. Basically, what he said yesterday. This guy Waltz has no character. I mean, when you lie about taking weapons into war when you've never been to war, but yet the men that you supposedly led had to go to war, but you found a way out because you wanted to be in politics. I mean, give me a freaking break, dude. But this Tim Waltz guy, I like I said, I would love for him to find an ounce of integrity, an ounce of character, and resign. He should resign immediately because of this fraud, this money, the taxpayer money. You people in New York, I mean, not in New York, in Minnesota. And I've got an old friend in Minnesota that owns a killer business. And my goodness, I haven't talked to this guy in a long time. But I used to ask him years ago, how could you live in Minnesota? Now, part of that was because it was so cold up there. But part of it is their politics. And now look what Walz has done with that politics. You want to know how this guy has no character? You want to know how messed up Walz is in this fraud, or how connected he is with this fraud, or allegedly, or in my opinion, I think he's connected, or at least that he knew about it, because of the way he reacted. You've got a journalist, an independent journalist that's doing the work of what normal journalists would do. And I'll make this prediction. As the more information comes out and more people get arrested, and you start to have depositions, and these people start throwing each other under the bus, then you're going to start to see the media do some reporting. The mainstream media, they're as usual, they're going to be playing catch up. But you're going to see him, especially if Walz is forced out. If Walz is forced out and he has to resign, then you're going to start seeing the mainstream media play catch up, and they'll start actually doing some investigative work, which they should already be doing. But you've got this guy, this independent journalist, who I think is a YouTuber journalist, or maybe an ex-journalist. He went and did the work that our media should be doing. Because it shouldn't matter if these guys are R's or D's. Now, of course, they happen to be Democrats, but that shouldn't matter. What matters is you've got politicians that are allowing major fraud from people who have been let into this country. I mean, if you are let into this country, you should love this country. You should want to help this country. You should want to be a part of this country and help it make it better. Not come in here and abuse or hook up with Democrats to abuse the welfare system. There are good people in Minnesota that could use those millions and millions and millions of dollars that these Somalian groups have just, who knows what they've done with that money. I mean, I've heard, again, I haven't verified this, but I've heard some of that money went to China. The Chicoms, we're sending taxpayer dollars now fraudulently to the Chicoms, and then you got money going back to Somalia, and you don't think that this money's gotten into the hands of terrorists? And what are these terrorists going to do with that money? What do you think? Do you think they're going to throw parties? Yeah, they might throw a party after they blow the crap out of some innocent Americans or some of our allies. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this stinks. It stinks to high heaven. And Walz, for him to walk around and accuse, first he tries to blame Trump. Now he's saying that this guy, and maybe producer Jerry, do you have that soundbite of Walz? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is how I know Walz is in this deep, because listen to Walz's reaction when he talks about the journalist who really, really, really broke this story.
This is what happens when your own federal government wages war against you. This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy, when you hear the Vice President of the United States talk about now white people won't have to apologize for being white.
Can you believe that? You heard, that's Walz. That's Tampon Tim. That's the guy that was not very far from being vice president of this country. Can you just imagine? Look at what Tim Walz has done in Minnesota. Do you want to know, can you imagine what he would have done as vice president of this great country? He would make Hunter Biden look like a kindergarten candy thief. I mean, Hunter Biden, look, folks, I actually have a Hunter Biden update that I want to get into later. But let's face it, the Biden family, I don't know if there is another family that's gotten more money from being in politics and just by using either their name or just, I mean, I in my opinion, they abused the crap out of the system to enrich themselves, with Hunter Biden leading the way, right behind Joe and his uncle. Can you imagine what Tim Walz would have done if he did this? You look at it, or at least oversaw this massive fraud in Minnesota, a small state. Imagine what he would have done from the seat of the vice president's office for this great country. I mean, we all know we dodged a bullet by not electing Kamala Harris. We all know that. But we probably dodged another bullet by not electing Tim Walz, because he would have come right on her coattails, and then who knows? I mean, she would have gotten hers. I mean, we don't know how much. Would she had 4 years? Would she have 8 years? Would something have happened, or would she have got herself in some mess? And then Tim Walz. But even from behind, I would venture to say that Tim Walz could do more damage by being behind her in the role of the vice president when it comes to allowing and just turning a blind eye to fraud. I mean, it's just scary to think about, ladies and gentlemen. But I want you to think about this kind of stuff, because that election in 2024 was way closer than it should have been. Now, Kamala's running around saying it was the closest. How can she? This blows my mind, and I'm going to go down another hole here. Kamala's running around on her book tour, and she's telling people that her race, her 2024 presidential race, was the closest race in history. Can somebody that's on the Kamala team, can you go in and look at her and go, do you not remember the Bush-Gore? That race came down to literally 500 votes, maybe. I go back and do some history research. How on earth can Kamala Harris be where she is and have gotten that close to the office of the presidency of the greatest country on the planet? How on earth is she still allowed to run? First of all, how does she not know this herself? How does she not remember the Bush-Gore race? And then for her to run around constantly and repeating it, and no one to get in front of her and say, hey, look, you may not like me, but I'm going to tell you the truth. You're kind of looking like a fool, because you're running around saying you lost. Look, I don't care what the number was. We don't even have to talk about the vote count or how much she lost by. All you need to know is Donald Trump is the first Republican in years to win the popular vote. He did it against Kamala. And which was great to see in 2024, because the Democrats, if they could move to a popular vote and get rid of Electoral College, now they may change their mind now after what happened in 2024. But if the Democrats could get rid of the Electoral College, trust me, they would do it, because they think they can win the popular vote. But in 2024, Kamala Harris lost the popular vote. The first time a Republican won the popular vote in a long time, in a lot of years. So there's that. Then Kamala Harris lost all 7 swing states. She lost all 7 swing states. So when you look at that, she lost pretty big. I mean, it was this was not the closest race. But even if you want to come down to vote counts, then you all you have to do is go back to the Bush-Gore race, where that race came down to literally about 500 votes in the state of Florida. And so but this is your Democrats, folks. They think you're that dumb. Your today's Democrat Party, not only do they think you're dumb, they want you to be dumb, or at least ignorant. They want you to be ignorant of facts. They want you to be ignorant of history. Because, folks, the more you know, the less power you're going to give them. And that's why I say all the time, I would love for you guys. I know most of my listeners and most of the listeners to Extra 106.3, I know most of you guys are very astute. You guys know what's going on. But too many people in this country, they're fly-by-night voters, and they're let's just call it what it is, low information voters.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your sports headlines for Tuesday, December 30th. From the NFL, the Falcons and the LA Rams wrapped up Week 17 with a win at home for the Birds. Bijan Robinson had 229 total yards with a pair of touchdowns, including a Falcons record 93-yard touchdown run. The Falcons defense also made big plays with 3 interceptions on Matt Stafford, including 1 return for a touchdown by Jesse Bates III. The Rams tied the game at 24 late in the fourth quarter on a Puka Nacua touchdown, but kicker Zane Gonzalez kicked the winning field goal, the final 27-24. In the NBA, the Hawks have now lost 7 in a row after losing in Oklahoma City last night, 140-129. They look to stop the skid tomorrow when the Minnesota Timberwolves come to town. Tip-off is set for 3 p.m. With your sports headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
Hi, it's Lowe's, here with Tom Mitchell, the Honest Car Guy. Tom, you are changing the way people are buying their next pre-owned car or truck. How are you doing it?
You know, Lowe's, we found a better way for customers to buy a car. An honest way, a very transparent way. You pay what we pay plus our honest fee.
How do you prove that?
We even prove it to you by giving you a copy of the bill of sale at the end of the deal.
How much can people save when they buy their next vehicle with the Honest Car Guy?
I've saved people upwards of $20,000 and $30,000. I mean, it really depends on the year, the make, the model of the car, and the price of the car. You know, on a $15,000 car, I can't save you $20,000. We can probably save you $2,000 or $3,000, but it's through the course of the whole sale. The big one here that people don't realize, the financing. You go into the dealership, they tell you your rate's 9%, or really it's probably 7% because they're allowed to make 2 points on there. The Honest Car Guy, you'll save an average of $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the price of the car.
Folks, if you want to save thousands on your next pre-owned car or truck, try the Honest Car Guy. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME, the number 1, or honestcarguy.com.
This is Fox on Justice. Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan is now a convicted felon after a jury found her guilty of interfering with federal agents trying to arrest an illegal immigrant outside her courtroom in April. Dugan's high-powered defense team ultimately didn't put up much of a defense, calling just 4 witnesses and making their case in less than an hour before handing it over to the jury. The verdict marks a major victory for the Trump administration, which has vowed to prosecute any officials who obstruct immigration enforcement. Here's Brad Schimmel, the interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Wisconsin, after the verdict came down.
I don't see her as a victim. She made choices. She knew what the policy was, and the policy was not.
Dugan is facing up to 5 years in prison, a fine of up to $250,000, and as a convicted felon, she legally will no longer be allowed to serve as a judge in Wisconsin. I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
Fox on Tech.
There was a bipartisan meeting of lawmakers on Capitol Hill before meeting with some top bank executives lobbying Congress to shape the new rules for crypto in a way that benefits them. Some of the heavy hitters at the forum, Citigroup CEO Jane Fraser, Bank of America's Brian Moynihan, and Wells Fargo CEO Charlie Scharf. They're talking about the Clarity Act, a major bill that would create a new market structure for crypto, which is currently stalled. Other parts of the world are ahead of us on crypto legislation, like Europe. Here's what SEC Chairman Paul Atkins had to say about this during our one-on-one interview.
In some ways, we could almost overstep what Europe already has because they might be too stringent with the rules.
They've started to change already things that they had adopted, maybe 5 years ago or something like that. So I think it's a fluid situation by nature, and that's not a bad thing. But I feel confident that here over the next year or two that we'll be where we should be.
With Fox on Tech, Darren Botello, Fox Business.
Fox rocks.
I'm Monica DeLuca. Harry Styles has released new music content for the first time in more than 2 years. Former member of One Direction gifted fans with an official video for Forever Forever, an instrumental song he debuted live on piano in Italy during his last concert on the Love on Tour in July 2023. The video is over 8 minutes long, filled with content from fans at his shows over the years. Taylor Swift's Life of a Showgirl album has reached #1 on the Billboard 200 albums chart for the 11th non-consecutive week.
Oh, you don't know the life of a showgirl, babe.
The Life of a Showgirl matches the 11-week reigns of Swift's 1989 and Fearless albums. Only the Tortured Poets department, with 17 weeks at #1 last year, has more weeks atop the list. That's Fox Rocks on Fox News.
It's Fox Wheels.
A new survey by YouGov shows that car dealerships have more work to do to close deals in the new year. That 63% of Americans are avoiding dealerships, choosing to buy online, and that transparency and hospitality top the list of car buyer must-haves to return to dealerships. The YouGov report shows that 56% of Americans say transparent pricing at dealerships would make them more likely to purchase from a dealership. 41% say honoring the price shown online once in the store, and no games, no add-ons is a factor. While 34% say atmosphere or in-store hospitality would also make them more likely to buy a vehicle in person. And while test drives remain one of the biggest draws for customers to come to dealerships, YouGov reports the most common reason for walking into a dealership or showroom today, it's not for browsing a new model, but rather for servicing or repairs. That's Fox Wheels. I'm Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Extra 1063 personalities aren't afraid to tell it like it is.
Without Donald Trump, nothing that's going on would be happening right now. Donald Trump is changing the world.
And you'll never hear us spew that violent rhetoric from the left. So don't be afraid to tell it like it is, because we're happy to have you as part of the Extra community.
I particularly like Donald Trump's actions in getting illegal aliens the hell out of this country.
Extra 1063 and the Extra app.
It's a theme song for Tim Walz. You don't know what this is, folks. This is Smooth Criminal. Only it's the Alien Ant Farms version. They did a version of Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal. And from now on, this will be my Tim Walz update music. Smooth Criminal. Folks, listen, I want to say something. You're probably seeing, and I hate it when this happens. I really do. I really, really do, because I can't imagine if my father was in politics and did something as ridiculous as what Walz has oversaw, that kind of fraud, and didn't do anything about it. And then the news starts breaking, and then Walz is running around doing these, just blaming everybody that's got white skin now is at fault for what the Somalian community. And I'm just calling it what it is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just calling it what it is. But that's the community that's been allowed to commit this fraud in Minnesota. And who knows how deep this goes? Who knows how many people it's going to encompass? But you have noticed Tim Walz's daughter is making videos. And I normally would say, my good, I can even feel bad for her and have compassion for her, because nobody wants to see their parents get attacked. No one wants to see their parents go through this. But Walz brought this on himself, and here's what I don't want her to do, and I don't want you people out there, and you media, and you Media Matters people, don't you get mad at me for bringing this up. Because she's putting herself out there. If she stayed silent and stayed private and just dealt with it, had conversations with her dad, whatever, then I would say I wouldn't even mention her. I'm not even going to say her name, because I just feel bad because she's going to have to go through this. Her whole family's going to have to go through this because of what their father did or oversaw, and what he didn't do. He didn't stop this fraud. But they're also having to watch him blame ladies and gentlemen, if you go through life and you want to blame somebody else for faults that you know are yours, I've talked about this before. Your biggest enemy, if you're not where you want to be in your life right now, if you feel like you're behind on achieving certain things, your biggest enemy is that person you see in the morning when you wake up and you get up and you walk in the bathroom and you look in the mirror. That's your biggest enemy. That's your biggest enemy. You've got to stop finding excuses and blame. You cannot, and this is what Walz is going to have to learn. The white folks. And listen, I'm the Mexican not afraid to be American. I don't mind saying this. I mean, I've got brown skin, especially when I'm in the sun too long. But I was told all my life that, hey, you're Mexican blood, you got Mexican heritage, you have to be a Democrat. So I'm not afraid to make fun of Walz when he's out there trying to blame the poor white folks. I mean, it's just crazy. He even went as far yesterday as calling that journalist, the guy on YouTube that's gotten, I don't know how many millions of views for his journalism that he's done.
Nick Shirley.
What's that?
Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley. So Nick Shirley the independent journalist, has gotten millions and millions and millions of views for the story that he's really breaking this whole story wide open in Minnesota, this fraud story. Tim Walz is calling him a white supremacist. I mean, I don't know where Nick is from. I don't know Nick's background, but Tim Walz's reaction is, you know what? I appreciate your journalism. I don't agree with what you're finding, so I'm going to get to the bottom of it. That would be better to come from Walz. But what does Walz do? He calls this guy a white supremacist. Ladies and gentlemen, when you start throwing out racist, and how, I don't know if I can say this word, but I want to say it really bad. But when you bastardize a word like racism, and I've even heard Bortz talk about this, and Bortz is 100% right. When you abuse a word like racist, and when half the people that use it, probably 90% of the people that use that word on the left, can't even define it, then when racism really happens, you can't even really call it out. Because the left, the Democrats, have totally abused and used out and worn out the word racist. And again, I'm telling you, most of the people in this country couldn't even define the word racist. And yet they throw it out there willy-nilly. And when you have politicians that get caught with their hand in the old cookie jar, and their go-to is racist, white supremacist. I mean, when did this crap start? I mean, I know it got really crazy under Joe Biden, because the whitest guy, the Democrats. Here's another thing, folks. Look, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump around, but this is the stuff that just percolates in my head. How on earth the Democrat Party in 2020 that tells you, has been telling you for years that everybody's racist, white people are the worst. They tell you the founding of this country was terrible because of white people, but yet that party that told you that, they had plenty of minorities they could have nominated for 2020. But what did they do? What did they do when the rubber hit the road? They went and got the oldest, whitest dude they could get in Joe Biden. That's your today's Democrat Party that tells you, listen, I don't want anybody to be nominated because of their skin color. I want people nominated because of merit. One day there's going to be a woman president in this country, but hopefully it'll be because she earned it. And you people out there, yes, I said it. You people out there that are running around, and these are people on the left that are still making excuses for Kamala. Kamala's out there going crazy, making excuses after excuses. It's not a book tour. She's on an excuse tour, and she won't look in the mirror and see that the problem she had in 2024 was her. The problem she had in 24, and my dear Kamala, please listen to me. Listen to me, Kamala Harris, because I know you're going to run again, and I hope you do. But understand this, Kamala. Your problem in 2024 wasn't that you didn't have enough time. Your problem was you had too much time. Yes, Kamala Harris, the more you spoke and the more people heard your word salads, that did your campaign in. That was your problem. And I don't care your skin color. If you were a competent person and you had good policies, then hey, knock yourself out. Win on the merits. But we're not going to have, and I hope we never have another president elected because of skin color or VP or whatever. No, that's not the way to do this. And you people that are running around, you had a meltdown when Hillary lost. Because, oh my gosh, she was a woman. I don't care. Was she qualified? And don't tell me just because she was married to a president, and just because she was a senator, and just because she was spent so much of her life in the bureaucracy, don't tell me that qualifies you, because it doesn't. Good policy qualifies you. I don't care if you were a janitor for most of your life. If you've got good policy and you have a connection with the people and you find a way to run and you win because you have good policy and you succeed because of policy, hey, knock yourself out. I might be one of your voters. I don't care your pedigree. I don't care your academic pedigree. I don't care your skin color. What needs to happen is merit and only merit. And so one day, we're going to have, you know who I would love to see? If I could pick a woman president today, I would like to see, she's the governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She would be an outstanding president. I think Condoleezza Rice would have been maybe a little bit too establishment, but what a smart lady. So yes, one day we'll have a woman president, but let's hope it's because of merit. And if it is merit, she's going to be a Republican.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3.
Well, it's time for an educational commentary. I do this probably every year or so to answer those people that say the rich ought to pay their fair share. Of course, these people never have any real data to back up their whine, but I do. So let's take a look and see what the evil top 1% is doing. After all, these are the people that communist becoming mayor in New York want to foot the bill for all of his great ideas. We'll start at the bottom. The bottom 50% of taxpayers earn 10.5% of all of the income, but they only pay 2.3% of the income taxes. The top 50% of all taxpayers earn collectively 89.6% of all of the income, but they pay 97.7% of all of the income taxes. So let's get to the evil rich. What percentage of total income do they earn, and what percentage of total taxes do they pay? Income earned, the top 1% earn 26.3% of all earned income. But what do they pay? We all know they're just not paying their fair share, right? So they earn 26.3% of the income, and they pay 45.8% of all income taxes, almost 46%. Yet the libtards, if you will, they need to pay their fair share. So earning 26% of the income and then paying 46% of all the income taxes, that's just not fair. Throw these figures at the next person that gives you this pay their fair share argument and stand by for a look of complete dumbassery. Neil Bortz, Xtra 106.3.
This is House Call for Health. Snow. It can be pretty and fun to play in, but also a pain in the back to shovel, literally. The Rhode Island Department of Health offers a few suggestions for staying safe while you're scooping away snow, which can be good exercise, but can also be harmful. They suggest talking to your doctor if you have a history of heart trouble. Make sure it's okay to be shoveling, then drink lots of water. You can still get dehydrated even though it's cold out there. Dress warmly and in layers so you can remove a layer if needed. Avoid caffeine and nicotine as they can put extra strain on your heart. And warm up your muscles before shoveling. Also, take it slow. Pace yourself and take breaks. Don't pick up too much snow at a time. Push the snow as you shovel. It's easier on your back. And protect your back. Bend from the knees and lift with your legs bent. Try not to twist and listen to your body. Stop if you feel tired or tightness in your chest. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady. Fox News.
Streaming across Georgia on the Xtra 106.3 app. This is WFOM and W292EV Marietta on Dickey Broadcasting Station. Xtra 106.3.
There will be hell to pay. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's President Trump's warning to Hamas if they don't give up their weapons.
They're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm. And we'll see how that works out.
President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met at Mar-a-Lago to discuss the next steps in the Gaza Strip, trying to move to the next phase of its peace plan. That's where Hamas disarms, the Israeli military pulls back, and an international police force polices the area. The specifics of how Gaza gets to that point are unclear.
That's Fox's Rich Edson. The president also warned Iran about rebuilding a nuclear program Israel and the U.S. attacked earlier this year.
They're not going to go back to where they were, but they have other places they can go. And if they're doing that, they're making a big mistake.
And President Trump gave more details of the land strike in Venezuela he first mentioned last week, saying the U.S. took out a dock where he alleges they load boats with illegal drugs, as the U.S. military blew up another boat, killing 2 more alleged drug smugglers.
The vessel, according to intelligence received, was identified and spotted traveling along a known Eastern Pacific narco-terrorism route. According to the Trump administration, this strike is the 30th such action in Caribbean and Eastern Pacific waters, killing more than 100 people.
That's Fox's Gernal Scott. Republicans in Minnesota are calling for Democratic Governor Tim Walz to resign over a multi-billion-dollar fraud scandal.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says they've been looking into these allegations of fraud for months, and they expect more prosecutions will be coming. So far, she says 98 people have been charged, 85 of whom are of Somali descent. It comes after an independent reporter, Nick Shirley's video investigating federally funded child care centers in the Twin Cities went viral. Minnesota officials are pushing back, though, saying previous investigations into the locations referenced in Shirley's videos did not uncover evidence of fraud.
That's Fox's Madeline Rivera. America's listening to Fox News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-393-1881. That's 800-393-1881. 800-393-1881.
Grow your business organically with Atlanta's fastest growing news and talk station, Xtra 1063. Get started today by emailing sales@xtra1063.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the kind of music that'll wake you up in the morning when it's nasty and cold. Yeah, speaking of the cold, I just gotta say, if I ever get a chance to meet Al Gore, I just might have to kick him in the midsection. And no, I'm not advocating violence, and I would never do that. But I'd have some words for him, because this dude's been telling us for, 20, 30 years or more that we're going to melt? Well, I got news for you. I came outside today and had ice all over my car and nearly froze to death until my car warmed up. So I don't know what this dude... every time Al Gore, or not even Al Gore, every time they do some kind of climate talk, and notice this, folks, Mother Nature's great. God is great. Because every time they do some kind of climate talk and they start trying to scare people and lie to people about the climate, and gosh, you want to talk about a big hoax. Woo, the climate hoax. Every time they do that somewhere, what happens? It's usually one of the biggest snowfalls that we see. Wherever, you can rest assured, wherever some kind of Democrat, left-wing, socialist, communist, environmental climate hoax convention is going on, you can rest assured wherever it's happening, it's going to have record cold, record snow, or record something on the side of cold. It's just crazy to me. Okay, folks, so I'm going to talk about something here. Yesterday, I love doing this, and I hope Kimmer doesn't mind, but every now and then I call his show. And I did it yesterday. And because Kimmer hit on something yesterday afternoon, if you were driving home listening to the Kimmer. And folks, this is Extra 106.3. If you haven't got the app yet, get the app, Extra 106.3. Because I understand there are places, especially for my listeners of the Victor Armendariz show, you guys want to continue to listen to 106.3. And some of you are outside the state of Georgia. You need the app. The Extra 106.3 app. Get that app and you can listen anytime you want. So and stream it in your car. It's great. It's easy. Nowadays, no matter where you are, you've got internet coverage. So you can get the app and always be able to tune in whenever you want to 106.3. So anyway, So Kimmer hit on something yesterday, and he was 100% right, and he sent me off on a tangent, which is the goal of the Democrat Party. Today's Democrat Party, again, I cannot drive this point home enough. Today's Democrat Party is not yesterday's Democrat Party. They're not JFK's party, and they're not even Bill Clinton's party. Today's Democrat Party is AOC's party. In fact, let me do I want to do a Pelosi update. Producer Jerry, do you have, I think it's number 7. I want to do this music real quick. This is for Pelosi. This is my Pelosi update here on Xtra 106.3. And I just want to let it play a little bit. Folks, the name of this is Medusa. I should be nice. But this is my Pelosi update music, and it's called Medusa. So Pelosi's running around, and she, number one, ladies and gentlemen, understand, the only reason that what is Pelosi now, 102? The only reason that she is leaving politics, and let's face it, is she really leaving? I understand she's not going to run again. But the only reason she's not going to run again is because there's actually somebody further to the left than she is that will beat her. They check all the boxes out there in San Francisco. I believe it's a I don't even know all the boxes this person checks that basically came out and was going to run primary Pelosi. They're going to have the backing of AOC. They're going to have the backing of Crockett. They're going to listen. There's no love lost between AOC, Crockett, and that crowd. Ayanna Priestley, Ilhan Omar. There's no love lost between them and Pelosi. They want her out, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're behind that candidate that was going to run against Pelosi. So Pelosi doesn't want to leave her career with a loss. So she's just going to walk away. So kudos to her for at least realizing I'm done. But trust me, ladies and gentlemen, if nobody was challenging her, or if it was a typical, mid. So-called moderate that was challenging her, she wouldn't go anywhere. She wouldn't give up this power. She wouldn't. But she's leaving because she was going to be beat, and she doesn't want to end her career with a loss. Can't blame her, and good for her. Good for her. But she's running around saying how confident she is that they're going to win the midterms, that the Democrats will not only take the House next year, that they're going to take the Senate. Now, it might happen. I really don't think they're going to take the Senate. But unfortunately, because of the Republicans getting in their own way, the Democrats do have a chance to take. They shouldn't have a chance, but they have a chance to take the House. But we don't know if it's going to happen yet. The Republicans got a lot they can do, and a lot of things are going to happen with this economy that are going to change the attitude of the voters by the time we get to next year's midterms elections. So stay tuned. But it just cracks me up that the last time I heard a bold prediction like this from Pelosi, she was in the camera saying that Trump is not going to be president. You can take that to the bank. Yeah, that was back in 2015 or 2016. And what happened? Trump got elected. So that was Pelosi's record on making these bold predictions, and she's making a prediction about next year. So it just cracks me up, folks. But never underestimate if a Democrat is going to leave and not run again. There's a reason. It's because these people are so addicted to power. It's sad. So all right, folks. Listen, I am Victor Armendariz, the Mexican not afraid to be American. And listen, folks, I'm not angry. I'm just right. I'm not angry. I am just right. And you can find me. I got my show. It's the Victor Armendariz Show. And you can find me all over Facebook, Instagram, X, and Spotify. I would really appreciate it if you guys would look me up and follow me. In this business, program directors like to see followers. So please get out there and follow me. I would appreciate it. But thanks again to Tug and Los for allowing me to fill in on the Morning Xtra. I love it. And folks, I'll be here tomorrow. And tomorrow, being New Year's Eve, man, we'll open it up to Anything Goes Wednesday. You can call in with anything you want and anything you want to talk about. Any predictions that you listeners have, I would love to hear them tomorrow. We'll have a fun show tomorrow. we'll talk 2026. We'll do a whole bunch of good stuff. We'll talk 2028 also. So tomorrow we'll have some fun looking into the future. So start thinking about now what you might want to talk about for tomorrow, or what are your future goals? I'd love to hear from you listeners about that. What do you want to do? We don't have to talk just politics tomorrow. We can talk all kinds of stuff, because it's New Year's Eve tomorrow, and that's going to be a fun day. So we'll have fun tomorrow. So all right. So let me talk about this soapbox that the Kimmer sent me on yesterday, or he built for me and left it here for me today. I want you to understand something. That today's Democrat Party is being run by AOC. It's being run by the young whippersnapper socialist. It's being run by people whose heads have been just filled with socialist muck and Marxist muck. I mean, you can listen to these people talk. If you ever want to do a fun exercise, and this is kind of fun, go get yourself a copy or look up a copy of the Communist Manifesto, the 10 Commandments of Communism. Go look up Saul Alinsky. Go look up the Rules for Radicals. Go read some excerpts from Rules for Radicals. Get these things and read them, and then listen and pay attention to when the Democrats speak. And that's most of the Democrats, but especially AOC, Crockett, Jasmine Crockett, Presley, Omar, all these people that are taking over the Democrat Party, and they're bringing in their Marxism, they're bringing in their socialism, and they're calling it democratic socialism. Whatever, it's socialism. It's darn near communism because there's so much Marxism in it. But pay attention to what they say, because you will hear them. They practically are quoting Rules for Radicals. They're practically quoting the Communist Manifesto. I mean, the 10 Commandments of Communism, if you look at them and then go look at the agenda of the Democrat Party, I mean, it's strikingly similar. It's scary, and it ought to wake a bunch of you up, because I can't tell you enough. Today's Democrat Party is not yesterday's Democrat Party. These people do not have the values that JFK had. They don't have the value. Even Roosevelt didn't have these values. The FDR. This is just different. What we're entering now, and this is why the Republicans should have no problem winning next year. You just have to. Republicans, listen to me. All you have to do is be the party of sanity. Just be the party of sanity. Be the party of realism. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but be that party, and you will win next year. The Democrats, they're not going to let go of this transgender. Look, I don't care if you dress up like a girl. If you're a dude and you dress up like a girl and you go run around, do what? I don't care. Whatever. Live your life how you want to. But when you bring it into politics and you want to force me to look at you knowing you're a dude and call you a she or an it or a them, they, no, you can't force me to defy reality. Now, if I know you or I know what you're doing and I want to placate to your I probably shouldn't say this, but some of this is a mental. I think liberalism is a mental disease, but that's just me. But if you want, but I might choose to placate somebody I know or meet, and I know they're a dude dressed up as a woman. Whatever. It's my choice. It's my choice, not yours. You don't get to force me. You don't get to force me to do things. Not in this country. So the Democrat Party today, they're not going to let go of these issues. They want dudes to dress up as girls and beat the crap out of girls in their own sports. They want dudes dressed up as girls going into women's locker rooms. I don't know why, but that's the road they've chose. That's the issue they've chosen. They want to force you to drive a certain car. They want to kill the gas industry. They want to force you to use a certain water heater. They want to force you to have your house at a certain temperature. They want you shaking and cold, wrapped up in a blanket in the winter, because they don't want you using heat, because they don't want you to have natural gas. They don't want you using anything. They don't want you even using a regular dishwasher because it uses too much water. They will tell you this while all of them, these Democrat leaders, have the things that they tell you can't have. You remember when Kamala Harris, I'm going to bring this up again. Hey, producer Jerry, do you happen to have Kamala Harris. This is my Kamala Harris update. So let's do an update here. We'll update Kamala's book tour, and then I'm going to update you. I'm going to remind you something that Kamala did in just a second. We'll have my Kamala update music. But Kamala Harris, if you remember, last year she ran around. It was probably earlier this year. They were running around telling you. No, maybe it was last year. They were running around telling you they didn't want gas stoves. They didn't want you to have gas stoves anymore. And here's my Kamala intro update music. That lady was almost your president. All she knows how to do is have a nervous laugh. But here's the thing. If you remember, Kamala was running around with the Democrats last year or year before telling you that gas stoves were bad. Now, I'm no professional chef, but I prefer gas stoves. And I know a lot of top-ranked chefs because I used to go to a lot of nice steakhouses. I love that. I don't do it anymore, but I used to. But I know the chefs love gas stoves. And the Democrats ran around, and I'm telling you, people need to pay attention to this. You got to pay. And if you've got friends out there they're not enlightened by talk radio, then you should let them know these things. But Kamala, and you can find this stuff on YouTube. You can do a DuckDuckGo search, and you can find videos of all this stuff. But Kamala was out running around with the rest of the Democrats and Joe Biden, the dementia patient, and they were out there telling people, gas stoves are bad. They're going to make you sick. She did that. Now get this. Kamala did this telling you that you don't need a gas stove and you shouldn't have one. And she did this from the kitchen or there was a video of something she did in the kitchen. And she had what? A gas stove. So it's okay for her to have a gas stove. See, you got to understand. It's got to understand. The Democrats will burden you, the people, we the peasants, will be burdened by policies of the Democrats that they themselves will not be subject to. You've got to understand that. And if your elected official is trying to burden you with some regulation or some ridiculous law or requirement, but yet they don't have to abide by it, then why should we? They work for us. There is this wonderful, wonderful document, the greatest document on the planet, the greatest form of government on the planet, and that's our Constitution, because we are a republic. And that Constitution states, man, we the people, and when I say man, I'm talking about women too, we the people, we own this government. Not the other way around. The government does not own us. This is one of the things that the Democrats hate, because this is one of the things that makes this country so exceptional. Because we have a document that fortifies law. I mean, it states this is what we the people, this government is of, for, and by we the people. You, the government, are elected at the goodwill of we the people. You represent us. We don't represent you. So we, by the good graces of our vote, will send you to Washington, but you don't own us. You don't get to tell us you don't get to go beyond the constraints of the Constitution, which is why the Democrats want to obliterate the Supreme Court. Just listen to how the Democrats talk about the Supreme Court. See, they can't control it, even though they've got three crazy judges, especially that Jackson. I don't know how. There's no way she's qualified to be a judge. There's no way. Just go read some of her. I mean, my goodness, she has been scolded by her own colleagues on the left. Sotomayor has and Kagan have basically, in not so many words, told Jackson she doesn't know what she's talking about. But anyway, you listen to the way the Democrats talk about the Supreme Court and what they want to do to it. They don't want to preserve. What do the Democrats always say? Oh, suddenly they want to preserve normalities and whatever they call it. They want to preserve the way things have been, except when it comes to something they can't control. They can't control the Supreme Court, so what do they want to do? They want to destroy it. And how do they want to destroy it? They want to pack it. They want to pack the Supreme Court because they can't get you to vote for them, or they can't get we the people, to vote for their stupid policies. So they want to be able to ram these policies down our throats at the behest of the Supreme Court. And that's not what the Supreme Court's job is. The Supreme Court doesn't legislate. That's the legislative branch. The Supreme Court is just there to adjudicate. They're there to interpret the Constitution, and they are there to decide whether the bozos in Washington are within the Constitution or they're outside the Constitution. And they don't always get. Listen, this Supreme Court we have currently, they're pretty darn good. You may not agree with everything, but they're not one-sided. At least the so-called conservative judges, they're interpreting the Constitution. And I got news for you. There's two big cases that are going to come out pretty soon. One is the birthright citizenship case, and one is the tariff case. And I've got a feeling that President Trump might lose on the tariff case. I don't think it's going to be a total loss, but I think he's going to basically lose that case. Now, I don't know. I'm just telling you, don't get mad at the Supreme Court if he loses, because the tariff thing, I'll try to talk about it. I'm going to run out of time, but I'm going to try to talk about that coming up soon. So, all right, folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
If you love 106.3, then you'll love the all-new Extra 106.3 app. It's loaded with replays of your favorite shows like the Morning Xtra and the Kimmer Show, podcasts from conservative voices across the South, and access to Extra's crystal clear live stream from anywhere in Georgia. Grab it now for Apple or Android.
You and your buddy, you've been through a lot with each other, the ups and the downs. He's been with you every morning, noon, and night. You've traveled the world together. Heck, he was even with you on your first big date. But have you noticed he's struggling lately? Not performing on the job. He can't even stand up straight anymore. He's wanting to cry out for help, but just doesn't know how. He needs Dr. Deal and Total Body Therapy of Georgia. They can give him the gift of good posture this year, help him stand proud and become all he was meant to be. Now, take him by the hand, look him in the eye and say, "I appreciate you, little fella, and we're going to get you some help." We're going to call 404-777-1911. We're going to visit stopmyed.com. We are going to say goodbye to erectile dysfunction forever. Total Body Therapy of Georgia. It's a hard conversation to have, but it's one worth having. Total Body Therapy of Georgia. Online at stopmyed.com.
Securing America.
Multiple U.S. agencies, including the Pentagon, continue to define China as America's pacing threat and biggest challenge, a status that continues to grow due to China's continued threats against Taiwan and continued economic and cyber attacks against the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio talked about the issue during his recent year-end news conference.
There will be tensions, there's no doubt about it. I mean, at the end of the day, China is and it will continue to be a rich and powerful country and a factor in geopolitics.
The secretary also described the delicate balance America tries to maintain concerning China.
We have to have relations with them. We have to deal with them. We have to find the things we are able to work together on.
Rubio said, though, he thinks America can do that
without imperiling or in any way undermining our very firm commitment to our partners in the Indo-Pacific.
That includes Japan and South Korea, and growing relations such as America's increasing ties with Vietnam. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. Redistricting will be one of the most consequential factors as to which party controls the House of Representatives after the 2026 midterm elections. Lawmakers in Illinois and Maryland debated for months about whether to move forward and redraw their maps. Illinois Democrats had long said they would only draw new lines if the Indiana GOP bowed to President Trump's demands and redid their own map. In the wake of the Hoosier Republicans' recent move, their Democratic neighbors don't seem eager to change their minds. But Democrats in Maryland are now forging ahead despite initial resistance. Democrats gained 13 seats in the Virginia House of Delegates in November's statewide elections. Virginia is poised to make drastic changes to their congressional maps that could net the party upwards of 4 seats. But Democratic Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger has sounded reluctant to possible wholesale changes. And a judge is allowing a newly drawn seat to go forward in Utah, which favors Democrats. Currently, there are no House members who are Democrats from Utah. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute. As 2025 comes to a close, we look back at the true crime cases that captured and rattled the nation. In June, a Massachusetts jury cleared Karen Reed of second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene in the 2022 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Instead, jurors convicted her only of a lesser charge, operating under the influence. Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs was convicted in July of 2 counts of transporting people for prostitution, while he was acquitted of more serious charges, including racketeering and sex trafficking. Then in August, a California parole board denied Eric and Lyle Menendez release. The brothers were convicted in the 1989 killings of their parents. Then in September, they were denied a new trial. Brian Kohberger pleaded guilty in July to 4 counts of first-degree murder for the brutal 2022 stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. A judge sentenced him to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. There's more on these stories at foxnews.com or subscribe to the Fox True Crime Podcast. I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
It's Tuesday, December 30th. Georgia has put on hold the scheduled execution of Stacey Humphreys, convicted in the 2003 murders of 2 Cobb County real estate agents. The state's execution warrant has expired, and his clemency petition is under scrutiny over alleged conflicts of interest on the paroles board. Humphreys was sentenced to death in 2007 for killing Cindy Williams and Lori Brown, but his execution cannot proceed until the clemency process is resolved and a new warrant is issued. Buddhist monks on a 2,300-mile walk for peace from Texas to Washington, D.C. drew massive crowds in Georgia, with thousands gathering in Fayetteville and Morrow to greet them. The 19 monks, accompanied by a rescue dog, have been walking across the Southeast since October, sleeping outdoors and sharing teachings in communities along the way. And the Carter Center in Atlanta is marking the 1-year anniversary of former President Jimmy Carter's death by celebrating his human rights, peace, and health work around the world. Despite losing about 11% of its 2025 federal funding, the center has maintained programs that provide roughly $160 million in peace and health support to millions around the world. Today's weather cold and windy with a high of 40 degrees. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
Let's just let this play for a minute. Folks, some of you may remember this if you're a Herman Cain fan. He was America. I mean, that guy, I miss Herman Cain, and I bet a lot of you guys do too. But what a great, this is I Am America, and I believe it's by Krista something. But you can look it up, folks, if you want to hear this. If this reminds you of some good times, look it up. It's just, if you just put in YouTube I Am America, you'll find it.
Krista Branch.
Yes, Krista Branch.
A bit of a Kate Bush vibe.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Very much so.
I just watched a lot of the Stranger Things new episodes.
Oh, yeah.
My girlfriend loves the show, and so they play Running Up That Hill no less than 30 or 40 times.
Oh, wow.
In the course of about 2 episodes.
Oh, wow.
And it's a great song, but I don't know if I ever need to hear it again.
That many times?
They really, really lean into it.
Wow. Well, this is, folks, this is how I feel sometimes when people ask me, how can I be Hispanic? And I used to get this a lot, not so much now, because a lot of Hispanics voted for Trump in 2024. But I used to get asked a lot, how can I support him? And I'm like, it's because I'm America. This is America. I want a guy in the presidency. I don't care about Trump not being what some people call presidential. I'm not worried about President Trump's demeanor and some of the way that he speaks. I don't like all of it all the time, some of his tactics, but I like his policies. President Trump, you know what I like about him? I think I just messed up my microphone.
There you go. You're back.
Sorry, folks. That was totally my fault. That was the
delicate instruments in there.
That was the idiot between the table and the mic. My bad, ladies and gentlemen. But I'll tell you, folks. My goodness, now I'm going to lose my thought process. But
what you love about Donald Trump?
Oh, President Trump, that's right. He may not be your typical president, but what I love about President Trump is that he's not an ideologue. I do believe, and this is me, I truly believe that President Trump looks at this country and goes, how can I make it better? Now, you may not agree with everything he does. I don't agree with everything. For instance, I love every policy he's doing except the tariffs. I I understand what he's doing with tariffs, and he hasn't proven me wrong yet. But tariffs is a tax, and that's why I think the Supreme Court is going to have a tough time with this case, or at least ruling for Trump, because and not that they look at this case, and if it passes the muster of the Constitution, then he'll win. If it doesn't pass the muster of the Constitution, he'll lose. And that's the way you've got to look at this. And the reason why tariffs are in danger with the Supreme Court is because tariff is a tax. A tariff is a tax, and there are some emergency situations, and there are and certain ways that he's using the tariffs that he should be allowed to do. But when you're blanketing tariffs and everything, it's a tax, and the only body that can create a tax in this country per the Constitution, just read Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, and you'll find the information there, is the legislative branch. The all tax policy, the taxes, the purse, the budget, the purse, the money comes from the House, the legislative, and the Senate, the legislative branch. And so when you look at tariffs, and like I said, it's a tax. There's no way around it. A tariff is a tax. The end consumer is going to pay that somewhere down the line. They're going to pay that extra cost because it's a tax. And so that's why I say there's a chance that the Supreme Court might not go President Trump's way. I mean, like I said, there's going to be some things he can do and some things he can't do, and we'll see, But it doesn't matter. I may not be a tariff guy because I don't like taxes, but I'm smart enough to know the guy that has the best policies for this country that's going to help everybody in this country. It's going to help the poor. It's going to help the lower middle, the upper middle, and then that 1% that the Democrats pretend to hate, but they actually love because that's their donor base. It's going to help everybody. I want policy like that. I want policy that'll let the rich people make more business, and it's going to let the poor people move up into from poverty. You move into the lower middle, then you move into the middle, and then I want that ascension to happen. That ascension does not happen with Democrat policies. You cannot tax yourself into prosperity. The Democrat Party knows this, but they want to tax everything anyway because they want you dependent. If you look at the country of Mexico, ladies and gentlemen, what do they have? They don't have a big, thriving middle class. They have a huge, huge, huge poverty class. And then there's the wealthy. You got a few people in the middle, but you've got wealthy people. You got elitist, and you've got the most around that country, poverty. That is how socialism works. And that's what your Democrat Party wants. The reason why people like Sheinbaum can win in Mexico is she's basically a socialist. Just look at her policies and look what she says. And unfortunately, my problem with Sheinbaum is that she seems to be in or controlled by some of the drug cartels. And that's got to stop. But the reason why people like her can get elected with these socialist-leaning views is because so much of the population is poor. They're in poverty, and they listen to if you tell them you're going to give them something, they're going to try to go for it, even though it hasn't worked. Poverty has just grown. I mean, the poverty class in Mexico, it's sad to see. I hate to see it. But it's there, and it's because of government. It's because of socialized government. And your Democrat Party here wants to do the same thing. And this is what I was getting to about my soapbox. When you look, the Democrat Party, they plan long term. They don't want to lose, and they thought after Obama, the Democrat Party thought they would never lose. But they plan long term. You've got to understand this about the Democrat Party. They plan long term. Their end goal here, the Democrat Party, and listen, they do what they do. They do this policy on purpose. Joe Biden, under 4 years, listen, I know that Joe Biden wasn't, we all know now, we knew back then, but we really know now that Joe Biden wasn't running much of anything in 4 years of his presidency. Maybe he did a little bit the first 6 months, but that man went downhill and downhill fast, and we all saw it. So the people around him, I don't know if it was Valerie Jarrett. I don't know if it was, is it Mark Rice? I think they used to work. I don't know who it was, but maybe Hunter had something to do. Maybe Jill Biden had a big part. I don't know. But it wasn't Joe. But he was signing things, and the auto pen was signing things, and they were putting out their left-wing agenda. They were putting out that socialist left-wing Democrat agenda. So everything they did to hurt this economy and hurt you and we the people, they did on purpose. Now, you've got young people. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, when you're in your 20s, you should be starting to, okay, this is where's my career? Where am I going with my career? How do I start saving? How do I start, let me maximize my earning? And then you move into your 30s and you're like, okay, I've saved a little money. I've got a good career. I want to start looking at house buying. And you know, by the time you're in your late 30s, maybe you're on your second house. That's how it used to be. But because of Democrat policy, and trust me on this, it is Democrat policy. They did it to you on purpose. The Joe Biden's people around him drove up the interest rates on purpose. And they drove inflation up on purpose, because high inflation, you get high interest rates because you have to combat the inflation. You don't want it to get too bad. And so they rose interest rate. Well, what happens when the rates go up? Mortgage rates goes up. What happens when mortgage rates goes up? Well, you can't afford to buy a home. If you're a young person, it used to be you could go out, and if you could earn yourself $60,000 a year, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, you could go buy an entry home. Now, your first home is not going to be your forever home, but it's a start to get to that forever home. And as a young person now, you can't buy a house. In fact, the Democrat Party, you will hear them. They talk about the new norms, and they talk about they use this ridiculous language to try to convince young people that, oh no, you don't really want to own a home. You want to live in a big city in a little box on top of somebody. And we're going to have these 15-minute cities or 10-minute cities. Trust me, you can look this stuff up. Your Democrat Party, this is what their long-term goal is. They want people living on top of each other. They want you to be confined to a 10-mile, 15-minute, whatever area where you're assigned a hospital, you're assigned a job area, you're assigned a box to live in. And then you have a grocery store that you're assigned to. Some of you may be going, Victor, that's far-fetched. Folks, it's not. It's not. Trust me. Your Democrat, just look at what they're doing. They drove up the interest rate so young people can't buy houses. They opened the border. Listen, there's several reasons for why the Democrats want open borders. And trust me, if they get power again, if they win in 26 and take over the House and take over the Senate, and if 28 Gavin Newsom wins, they will reopen the borders. Mark my words. They will reopen the borders. And it's not just because they want illegal votes. It's not that. And hopefully we've got secure enough elections, and we're headed to secure elections. I mean, we should get rid of the voting, the digital voting and all that crap. We should have paper ballots. That's it. And we should make sure there's no fraud in voting. But I don't think that's the Democrats' goal, is fraudulent voting. What they want is census numbers. So one reason they have open borders is because they want to fill up California. They want to fill up these cities around the country. They want to fill them up because they get the body count. And then they get more House seats in California, more House seats in New York. See, right now, California, this stuff is backfiring. And with Trump, this is another reason why it's so important that President Trump won. What did President do when he came into office? He opened up a Diet Coke, and he said, watch this, and he closed the border. And with a snap of his finger, practically closed the border. Well, what did that do? That stopped the influx of people, bodies, coming into Democrat cities so that they could say, hey, the census is coming up. We need more House seats. Because now they're losing people because of their policy of high taxes and high regulations and just making it so costly to live. When you have an open border like that, you do a couple of things. You get the bodies that come in so you can say, hey, census, count all these people. We need more House seats. And then you get all these bodies that need a place to live. So what happens? Rent goes up. The prices of homes go up. So you're driving up the cost. You're driving up the mortgage rates. They did this. Look, folks, I know this can be boring stuff, but you got to know this because the Democrat Party is planning long term. They don't want you to buy a home. And now look what they're doing with property taxes. Because not only, if they stop young people from buying homes, the next thing they got to do is they got to get these old people out of their homes. They got to get the old people out of their property. Why do you think we have a death tax and an inheritance tax? How does that make sense to you, ladies and gentlemen? How does that make sense? If some family works their tail off on a farm and they have generations of kids and they want to leave that farm, your Democrat Party does everything they can to take that away from them. As soon as the old farts die that started that farm, Democrats move into action to try to get it away from the family. Why do they do that? And why does our Republican Party allow this? Why is it? There should be, I don't care if the Republicans are in power or out of power, there should be a bill every session, every time. There should be some, and attach it to whatever other bill you got to attach it to get rid of the inheritance tax, get rid of the death tax, get rid of some of these ridiculous taxes that all they're trying to do is get families to lose their land or lose their homes, lose their generational wealth. And this is something that's got to stop. But this is what your Democrat Party is doing. Listen, I know a lot of you may not have a family that's leaving you homes, or you're not going to inherit things, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't want somebody else to. I mean, folks, this is what this country is about. You work hard, you put your sweat equity out there, and you get the reward. And then you can leave your family with something. Because listen, some of you young people out there, you may come into money one day, and you might want to leave some of it behind. But with the Democrats coming after you, they'll death tax you, they'll inheritance tax you, they'll gift tax you, they'll every which way you turn, they're trying to take money away from your family. That's terrible. They didn't earn it, you did. And so this is the long-term goal of the Democrat Party. This is why. Listen, I want to be serious here. I'm not angry. I'm just right. The Democrat Party has a long-term goal. They don't want you owning homes. They don't want you to own property. They don't want you even to own a vehicle, folks. They want you in a government car or a government bus, a government train. They want to control every aspect of your life. And we're at a turning point right now where we can stay on the freedom road with President Trump and maybe a President Vance or a President Rubio or a President DeSantis. We can win the midterms next year and stay on this freedom road. Or we're going to go down the road of socialism, and it's going to be ugly, folks, because you can vote yourself into socialism easily. Try getting out of it.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your sports headlines for Tuesday, December 30th. From the NFL, the Falcons and the LA Rams wrapped up Week 17 with a win at home for the Birds. Bijan Robinson had 229 total yards with a pair of touchdowns, including a Falcons record 93-yard touchdown run. The Falcons defense also made big plays with 3 interceptions on Matt Stafford, including 1 return for a touchdown by Jesse Bates III. The Rams tied the game at 24 late in the fourth quarter on a Puka Nacua touchdown, but kicker Zane Gonzalez kicked the winning field goal, the final 27-24. In the NBA, the Hawks have now lost 7 in a row after losing in Oklahoma City last night, 140-129. They look to stop the skid tomorrow when the Minnesota Timberwolves come to town. Tip-off is set for 3 p.m. With your sports headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
Hi, it's Los, here with Tom Mitchell, the Honest Car Guy. Tom, you are changing the way people are buying their next pre-owned car or truck. How are you doing it?
At the Honest Car Guy, the entire process is completely transparent. You pay what we pay plus our honest fee, and we even prove it by giving you a copy of the bill of sale. We can sell you any make, any year, any model, and at the Honest Car Guy, you'll save an average of $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the price of the car.
Folks, if you want to save thousands on your next pre-owned car or truck, call 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME, the number 1, or honestcarguy.com.
Hey, this is John Flading. I'm the president and owner of ATL Turf Co. We are a family-owned, operated, independent local company. We have over 15 years of artificial grass design, installation, and sales experience. From premium artificial lawns and backyards, custom putting greens, sports fields, hardscape, drainage. We do both residential and commercial. If you can dream it, we can build it. Just go to atlturfco.com to schedule an appointment.
It's December 30th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Bicarbonate of Soda Day, also known as baking soda. The fine white powder has so many uses, from cleaning to absorbing odors in your refrigerator to baking cookies and cakes. On this day in 1809, wearing masks at balls in Boston is prohibited because people there believed it was detrimental to morals. John E. Hoover changes his name in 1918 to J. Edgar Hoover. He was appointed director of the Bureau of Investigation. The FBI's predecessor in 1924 was a key player in founding the FBI in 1935. He was the director for 37 years until he died in 1972 at the age of 77. In 1924, Edwin Hubble announces the existence of other galactic systems. The Hubble telescope was later named after him. Born on this day, Fox TV star Sean Hannity, born in 1961. I'm CJ Papa. That's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
Big cheers from both sides during a football game in Florida makes today's Dean's List. John Lyles had the ball for the final play. He took the handoff and sprinted 85 yards as players and spectators began clapping and shouting in support of this young man. John is autistic and he loves playing football, but things can be challenging for him in day-to-day life, and that's why when he made the play and everyone saw him running toward the end zone, crossing that goal line, there was an eruption of excitement that filled the air. Players from both teams gathered around John, giving him high fives and hugs as his parents and the community looked on with big smiles from the sidelines. His grandmother, Sherry Jackson, says she cried because she knew how special this game was for her grandson. He's never been able to be involved in anything like this, and everyone there made it a moment he will never forget. Janice Dean, Fox News.
This is Poll Paris with Fox News Director of Polling, Dana Blanton.
Can you believe 2025 is almost over? How do you feel when you look back at the major events? A second Donald Trump inauguration, AI expanding, continuing gloomy views on the economy, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. It's a weighty mix, and voters feel that. Our Fox News survey finds 2/3, 65%, think it was a bad year for the country. 35% say good. While that's low, it's the highest number saying it was a good year for the country in 5 years. People give more upbeat reviews of how things went for them personally. 45% say 2025 was a good year for their family, the highest since 2019. Of course, there's the traditional partisan divide. More than 6 in 10 Republicans say it was a good year for their family and the country, while 3 in 10 Democrats say it was a good year for them, and just 1 in 10 say it was a good year for the nation. I'm Dana Blanton, and that's your Poll Paris.
Hey, it's Flounder, and the Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m.
Every day, I go on the website, nationalpastime.com, and find out what's going on in, history, blah, blah, blah. And the last week or so, there's been this buxom Asian girl. It's some from Thailand or something like that. So I finally yesterday said, have you guys been hacked? And they wrote back today, yes. Thanks for telling me.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Victor Armendariz, your Mexicano. No tengo miedo a ser americano. I'm not afraid to be American. Folks, listen, please look me up when you get a chance. Victor Armendariz, the Victor Armendariz Show. You can find me all over social media and Spotify. So do that. Thanks again to Los and Tug for allowing me to fill in for the Morning Extra. Listen, folks, this 8 o'clock hour, I got to get this in or I'm going to get killed. 8 o'clock hour. This was brought to you by Central Heating and Air. Just go to centralheat.com. Centralheat.com. They are Atlanta's carrier experts. So you got to have something done at your house or checked. Central Heating and Air. Centralheat.com. All right, folks. So I hope you get my point on what I'm trying to tell you is you've got, I know politics can be very boring and nobody really wants to sit around and at least, well, some of us do, but there are, you got to understand, and if you're listening to talk radio, you're above most people. You're more tuned in, but you're going to run into people who aren't. And you might run into people who ask you and question you. I get questioned all the time. Why do you believe what you believe? How do you believe what you believe? And blah, blah, blah. And you want to be able to point out to them, well, what do you believe in freedom? And this is a great way to do it. Ask just before don't even mention R's and D's, and you'll be surprised at how naturally conservative people are. They just don't know it. But you can go and do things like, well, do you like freedom? Do you like liberty? Oh, okay. Do you want to choose the car you drive? Okay. Do you like gasoline? Okay. Do you understand that we need gasoline in just about every product? Oil is in everything you have. You wouldn't have an iPhone. You wouldn't have tires on your EV. You wouldn't have the plastic on your EV. You wouldn't have most of the components on the EV. You wouldn't have it if there weren't oil. And you wouldn't have that big fat battery on your EV if it weren't for precious minerals. All of this stuff, it doesn't just appear. And so you can ask people, do you enjoy the way your life is? Do you enjoy having choice? Do you like abundance? Do you like scarcity, or would you rather have abundance? Because with socialism, you're going to get scarcity. With capitalism and free markets, you're going to have abundance. And you know what else comes with abundance? Peace. You have abundance, and you don't have people that want to fight each other all the time. It's just a fact. People just look at history. So I want you to be able to take what you hear from me, take the perspective that I give you, and when people ask you, how can you support? I mean, come on, you're still going to get this from people. How can you support President Trump? Easy. I support somebody who's for lower taxes and for freedom, for liberty. I want choice. I want, the only choice the Democrats seem to want is a topic that I don't really talk about. But I mean, when it comes to your life, what car you want to drive, how many cars you want to have, how hot you want your house, how cold you want your house, what kind of stove do you want, what kind of washing machine do you want, what kind of dishwasher do you want, what kind of shower head do you want, what kind of toilet do you want? The Democrat Party, what light bulbs do you want? Your Democrat Party has actually everything I just mentioned, they tried to regulate. Everything I just mentioned, they want to tell you what to get. Bernie Sanders has this guy's been out there before telling you, what do you need so much choice for? Why do you need 100 deodorants? Because maybe I want 100 deodorants. That should be my choice, not the government's. So now look at what Bernie Sanders is doing now. Look at what you got. Bernie Sanders, who this man hasn't found anything that he likes. All he does is just trash it. It's negative. If it's not straight up socialism, if it's not straight up Marxism, if it's not his lovable communism, then he's going to trash it. So he's out there trashing AI now. So all of you people out there that's enjoying AI, Sanders wants to get rid of it. So you can't have AI without data centers. And now, look, there's a discussion to be had on, are too many data centers being built? That might be a discussion worth having. But Bernie Sanders is not worried about the number of data centers. He just doesn't like the idea. He doesn't like progress. You've got to understand, they may call themselves progressives, but they are the most regressive people you'll ever meet. Socialism is naturally regressive. Communism is naturally regressive. You don't make leaps and bounds in industry or the medical field. You don't make leaps and bounds in socialism or communism. The iPhone didn't come from communism. It came from capitalism. The drugs that you use and the medical services and the medical equipment came from capitalism, didn't come from socialism, didn't come from communism. So you really got to keep, I know this is boring stuff, but you got to keep it in perspective. So the other thing I want to, in the short time that we have left, I'm quoting a song. I wonder if anybody knows that song. In the few moments that we have left, I want to talk down to, or speak down to guys, I'm not going to remember the whole thing, but that's actually a quote in a song where they quoted some politician. And maybe tomorrow, I'll wait and see if somebody can call with that and see if maybe they'll win some 106 gear. Maybe we'll give some swag, some extra 106.3 swag. But listen, folks, so during one of the breaks, I heard Bortz do his little Bortz report. And I want to piggyback off of what Bortz said, because this doesn't get said enough. Because the other thing that drives me crazy, and because of our education system, because our government schools do such a porous job of educating just basic economics, even our colleges don't teach proper economics. I want to just piggyback here. So Bortz was talking about your Democrat Party is constantly telling you Bernie Sanders leads the way. You got to pay your fair share. You don't pay your fair share. Yeah, whatever, dude. So, I mean, listen, the guy wants to go backwards. He wants you to be subjugated to his desires. Okay, you got to understand this. Bernie Sanders is a multimillionaire. You know, Bernie Sanders used to run around going billionaires and millionaires, millionaires and billionaires. And he stopped saying millionaires because people told, it was finally reported that Bernie Sanders is a millionaire. And when that news came out, well, he couldn't deny it, because he has to report income. So what does he do? Now it's just billionaires. It's ridiculous. But you hear Bernie Sanders, you hear the Democrat Party constantly saying that we aren't taxed enough. You got to pay your fair share. Pay your fair share. Well, as Bortz pointed out, the bottom. See, I've talked about this, folks, all the time, because I want us to move to a consumption tax. If the best thing President Trump could start working on, here's what you want to win the midterms next year, President Trump. You want a hands down victory next year. Please hear me, President Trump. Hear me, someone within the Trump campaign. I know you're listening because some of you do. Here in Georgia, you're part of the Trump campaign. Get this message to him. You want to win big in 2026? Then start bringing down the tariffs. You've won. Declare victory on tariffs. You've gotten countries aren't taking advantage of us anymore. So if the product is not made in this country, that tariff should go to zero. Listen to me, folks. I know what I'm talking about. If he did that, the stock in Wall Street would go crazy, but Main Street would go. Small business. If you remove the tariff burden from small business, you're going to see employment take off. And you're going to see those blue-collar jobs and trade jobs. All those jobs are going to go crazy. Okay, that's number one. And then you start talking about getting rid of the income tax. You're not going to replace it with tariffs. There's not going to be enough money coming in from tariffs, folks. Listen, it's just not going to happen. You would have to hurt the economy too much to get enough tariff dollars to get rid of the income tax. I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm not wrong, then I'm right. But here's the thing. If Donald Trump came out and started saying, "Hey, we are punishing achievement. Our progressive income tax," and that's what it is, a progressive income tax system, which is socialist. It's Marxist. It's socialist. If you earn more and you try to move up the ladder, they're going to punish you. Well, what happens if you've got children out there and you punish them? What do you get? You get less of that behavior. Folks, I will get into this more tomorrow. So you tune back in tomorrow. We'll see you later. This is Victor Armendariz.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3.
Well, it's time for an educational commentary. I do this probably every year